Simon, week off, how have you used it? What have you reflected on? Where do you sit heading into the second half of the season?
Obviously, it was a great time to get away and reset and get everyone out of the building. At 7 and 6, we're right in the mix with a lot of teams. We've had a lot of chance to reflect about where we're at, what we need to do, how we're going to go after our game, both internally but also out on the field. But we're very optimistic. As I said, post-game, there's things that we think are trending in the right direction on the weekend, and we feel like we've got a lot to build off. But we sit in a mix with a lot of teams that have got room for improvement about where they're going to finish by the end of the year. So we've had a good reflection, we've had some good chats, we've had some good meetings, we've had some good training, so we feel like we're ready to go.
There's been a lot of talk about Christian Petracca and going back on the field. How do you reflect on it now that you've had more time to process it in the aftermath?
Well, it's not really my job, it's the doctor's job, and I trust their medical team like never before. They're unbelievable at what they do, and they're independent to the game. All their focus is on is player safety and welfare, and they did all the assessments possible. We were really comfortable with where that stood, and it wasn't until a long time post that an internal injury was diagnosed, and they're very hard injuries to diagnose. So incredibly trusting of our doctor. They do an amazing job, and full trust in what they delivered.
So to a lot of people, there's been a lot of debate about it, and a lot of people just in general saying, how is he back on when he had those injuries? So that's what you would say to those people that you did not know at the time, and had you have known, obviously you wouldn't have gone back out on the field.
Absolutely, and a lot of those people aren't doctors. As I said, these doctors are independent to the game and to where it's at, and all they're interested in is their safety. And all the tests that they did suggested that Christian was okay, and when he wasn't okay, then he was removed from the game and sent off for further examination. And as I said, we've got amazing trust in our doctors and the processes they went through, and we certainly back them in.
What's been the dialogue with Christian, if any, since the incident itself?
Oh, it's been daily. He's in good spirits. Obviously, it's the primary thing is to make sure he and Bella have been okay through the process. Obviously in ICU, no one could go and visit him, but constant text messages and phone calls, and he's in really good spirits. He's at home, he's bored. He wants to get back involved and help out in whatever way he can. That's Christian. He loves his footy club and loves his team, so we'll get him back involved as soon as we can.
Is he annoying you, Simon?
He's constantly communicating. Yeah, he wants to know what he can do, how he can help, and that's just what he's like. He's full of energy, and he's recovering well. But that's our primary concern, is to get his health and welfare back up and running and give him all the time he needs. And then, obviously he's sitting on the couch, so we'll give him some tasks.
One of the best players in the comp, how do you cope with his absence? And it looks like, you won't see him again this season, you would think.
Yeah, obviously he's a difficult player to replace. He's obviously has an enormous impact, but that's where you have an opportunity to grow as a footy team and a footy club. We'll bring a player in and expand some players' roles to try and fill that void. But we move forward as a footy club. We're still really confident with the list we have, with the players that we've got available, and that's our challenge. It's not about just one player, it's about a team, and it's about a method, and it's about the collective. And that's what we need to do, is be really tight, united, and come out and forge our season ahead.
Does Clayton Oliver potentially do more of that midfield forward role that Christian was obviously so good at before his injury? Is that something you consider to try and keep things fresh in the forward line?
Yeah, look, nothing's off the table. Our primary concern is to get as many players in form as possible, and Clayton's a really important player for us, so we'll get him right back to his very, very best. Really positive in the way that he's progressing in terms of his training and the way he's going about things. And as I said, this is not about individuals. This is about a collective team and the unity of it, and going out there and playing some really strong footy and improving.
I know it's not about individuals, but Jack Viney has seemed a bit sort of lost his usual spark in recent weeks, just below his usual output. Is he okay physically? Is it just an issue of it just not clicking for him at the moment?
Yeah, like he's one of our players that's really important to us, and as I've said, with our whole team, not just Jack or Clayton or whoever you might be talking about, we need our whole team to collectively play to a higher standard and a higher level. And as I said, we think there's some things in our game that we're certainly going to be working on, and there's certainly things in our game that we're starting to see head in the right direction. But we've been really clear and been on the record to say we need to make sure we get our identity of our game back, and we feel that we will, and we'll be coming in the second half of the year.
There's a chance for Colin Tholstrup to get some time in the middle, maybe at senior level. He seems to have been doing well there in the VFL.
He has. He's progressed really strongly in the VFL. He's certainly gone back and developed his game from a midfield perspective and also forward to centre. So he's someone that we'll look at really closely. He's a high draft pick with high talent. He gives enormous effort. He's tough. So he's someone that we'll certainly look at.
How do you assess the opposition this week? Obviously, had Collingwood 54 points behind, and they came back and got over the top. But which North Melbourne do you expect to come over the weekend?
We expect the one that we've seen the last 2 weeks. They're a much improved footy team. They're playing with enormous pressure and energy, and they've got enormous talent in their footy club, and you can see how quickly they are improving, and they're playing some outstanding footy at the moment and challenging everyone. So we certainly know what we're up against in terms of the way they play and how good they can be, and we need to play to a certain level to get the result.
You've got at least one change this week. What are your thoughts on how the side will look heading into this weekend in terms of selections?
Yeah, we'll finalise that today, post-training, once we get everyone through. But look, there's some opportunities there for players to come into the side, and we'll certainly assess what that looks like. Obviously, from the back half last week, we went a bit smaller based on Collingwood's forward line. So, Adam Tomlinson's been in some really fantastic form, both when he's been in the team, but also when he went back at VFL level. So he's someone that'll come back in to really balance out that back line for us. So that's certainly one change that we'll make, and we'll assess everything after that.
And how far else leave him?
He's another week away.
Yep.
So he's got his final week of preparation and training and match load, and he'll be back the following week.
With Christian, sorry to harp on it, there's been some discussion about some dissatisfaction from his family and from Bella. I'm not sure from which part of his camp, but there was dissatisfaction with the way it was handled. Can you just clarify what the messaging has been between Melbourne and his family post that?
Yeah, the only thing I can go by is the conversations I've had with Christian and Bella, and the fact that we've spent a lot of time with Christian and Bella, and they're incredibly thankful of the support the club's given from players, coaches, management, and a welfare team that's not only been dealing with Christian but also his family. And we were surprised by the reports. Christian's surprised by the reports, and we're really confident that the family and Christian's in a great place. Christian's he loves his footy club, loves his teammates, and wants the best for him, and feels incredibly well supported.
Speaking about health, obviously BCNA this week must be a pretty significant game for you guys to play.
Yeah, it's huge. It's 20 years. We've had the BCNA game, and breast cancer awareness network something that we're really proud of for our footy club. And today we've got 43 players who have a warm-up jersey, which Zurich have given up their rights for the sponsorship, and we've got names of the 43 ladies across their chest to honour them and bring awareness to it. And we want to raise as much money as we can. It's a great service that they provide, and the players individually have received letters from those women, and they certainly know who they're representing and why they're representing them, and it's a really great thing we do.
You got any stance on the potential change to the draft system this year in terms of how in the loop you are on that and what you understand is going to be happening potentially? I think clubs are going to get briefed on it in the near future. Do you think it's too short a runway to make a change like that?
Oh, I think, like everyone, you just want clarity. You just want to make sure you know what you're dealing with as soon as you can, so you can plan for it, and hopefully that clarification comes really quickly so we can get organised and get prepared for it and know what we're dealing with. I know the list managers and everyone involved want to know, and they want to know quickly so they can actually get ahead of what's going on.
Do you think there's a demand for the need of medical facilities at the ground? Like what you were saying before, if you had known Christians, obviously you had those internal injuries, you wouldn't have gone back on. Is there a need to have scanning facilities at the ground?
Oh, look, potentially, but even a scanning facility at the ground wouldn't have picked it up. Christian's injuries weren't picked up till 2 a.m. after 3 scans or 2 or 3 scans. So, we can have scanning facilities there, but will that still make a difference? Who knows? We trust our doctors, we trust what they provide, and we trust how they assess people. And, it's one of those things that's incredibly hard to diagnose, and one that we'll obviously still support our medical team with. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.